Hi, a very warm welcome, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for joining this session. I really truly appreciate it. I think I've already got my message halfway through just by you guys joining this session. Today, we are here not just to go over a topic, but also to go over an item which is very close to my heart. This particular idea, topic, associated issues along with it is something that I truly believe, live and breathe every day. So let's get going and let's get this started. Today, we will talk about what it means to be a regulator and how to be one in your day to day. A few different subtopics will be covered, including who do we call a regulator, how this whole idea started, and why is it important now than ever to talk about the meaning of being a regulator and the responsibility along with it. Then we will dive deep into a bit of my journey from where I started to where I am today and where I'm going with this. We will discuss the dire issue of current shortages of regulators. Then we will get straight into how to get started, how to get yourself into this job. What's the journey like? What does the job include? And a very few important points or key elements to remember while performing the day-to-days. In the end, we'll leave a few details about how you can connect with me for questions, general discussions, or just to have a chat on this topic. So, without further ado, let's get into the main topic. Who do we call a regulator? To regulate simply means to direct or govern something according to set rules. These rules are set by governing bodies such as our government, any public or private institutions, etc. Whenever the rules are set, regulators come into the picture. In today's landscape, regulators tend to be in different fields, including the financial industry, financial sectors that like banking, or pharmaceutical industry, tech industry, and so on. But wherever they are, there's a common pattern among all of these regulators. They are the calmest, collaborative, passionate individuals focused to do the job. They make sure that the rules are being followed and also help provide supports and guidelines. They can be part of any organizations directly or can be part of any third party governing the organization. Now, how did all start? How did all of this start from the first place? It all started back in 1906 when the original Food and Drugs Act was introduced. It was passed by Congress on June 30th and signed by President Theodore Roosevelt. Today, FDA is considered one of the highest governing bodies. Their audits are considered one of the toughest in the industry. It evolved a lot over the years. Like in 1938, introduction of clauses, safety testing before marketing. In 1976, medical device amendment for standard approval process. In 2016, 21st Century Cures Act to promote biomedical innovation and modernize clinical trial. Now, through this particular slide, I'm only trying to cover one industry, that is the pharma industry. That's because I'm more closer to that. But there are other laws and acts and standards and guidelines that is applicable to various industries, and those are evolving as well. Why do I call it that it is more important now than ever? The rapid pace of technological advancement and evolving societal norms, this has introduced a novel challenge. which requires a fresh regulatory approach. Let's talk about the biggest elephant in the room: artificial intelligence, or Gen AI as we term it today. The possibilities are unknown, and so is the risks. Most regulatory or governing bodies are still coming up with their first set of guidelines or acts just in 2024 to better support industries and regulators. The current regulatory landscape is being reshaped by these disruptive innovations. Disruptive innovations refer to any transformative changes that challenge traditional methods, practices, and regulations within various industries. Things like Gen AI, blockchain, and the Internet of Things, which are revolutionizing how businesses operate and interact with consumers. This technology op- offer unprecedented opportunities for efficiency, transparency, and scalability. But they also pose new challenges for regulators who must adapt their frameworks to address these emerging risks and ensure consumer protection. Disruptive innovation often blur the lines between different sectors and create regulatory gray areas. For example, the rise of fintech companies that offer innovative financial services often falls outside the scope of traditional banking regulations, promoting regulators to develop new guidelines to govern these entities effectively. Additional to that, public awareness is at one of its highest point, which is great, by the way, but comes with perks. This demands ethical, transparent, and responsible business practices, which requires constant reporting and adaptation. Today, we are one world. Global interconnectedness has given us so much possibility, but cross-border operations, data flows has tremendously increased the risks and threats along with it. In response to these challenges, regulatory bodies worldwide are increasingly adopting agile and collaborative approaches uh, to policymaking, to engaging with industry stakeholder and leveraging data-driven insights to inform the decision-making process. They're also exploring the use of regulatory sandboxes, pilot programs to test new approaches in a more controlled environment before implementing a cross border regulatory change. But the situation, all in all, is dire, and it requires the best of the best minds to help it out. Now, let's take a beat and let's get into something a little bit more casual. My journey so far. How has it been? Where did I start? Where I am today, where I'm going with all of this? Well, what can I say? It's been a fun ride. To all of your surprise, maybe, uh, I come from a very high technical background, engineering to be specific. I often get asked why this job, why this field, why am I here? Let me tell you, even though the job has chosen me, I'm so glad it did. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking today in front of you, trying to motivate you to choose this path. My path actually started more into with documentation. I've always enjoyed writing, I still do, which then evolved into information security documentation to be more precise, then into policy writing, procedure writing, etc., then into quality and validation, from there into data privacy, and today I work as a full blown regulator conducting and defending audits for crying out loud. It's been quite a journey. And of course, it came with its bumps, but I enjoyed every minute of it, and I'm still doing it very, very much. I believe I still have a long way to go, and I hope to see you all there along with me. Now, The reason why I'm here today, covering this particular topic, among others, is due to something that started back in August 2023. It was one of my conferences specific to the GRC field. There were many topics discussed. One of them was particularly this: the current shortages of regulators. I was among 1,000 regulator in the room attending the event, and it was told that within a matter of 5 years, half of those people in that room are either be close to retirement or already retired. And we're not getting enough people joining the force to fill up the room or to have a bigger venue. I was surprised by the fact, and it stuck in my head. I did discuss it with my network, did my own research, talked to a bunch of people, and since then, I've tried again and again to determine why this is a fact. But it is evidently a fact. Not many people are interested in this field today, and I have been searching since how exactly to motivate young individuals into this field. Hence, I thought this could be an opportunity for me. This could be the platform that I'm looking for to come talk to you guys and to see if I can maybe create a little bit of a spark about this particular field among you guys. I would definitely leave out my contact details in the end so you can connect with me, have longer conversation. I would be happy to help you out with anything you need. Now, let's get into why I think this could be a very interesting field for someone, a young individual or somebody already in the field to get into. How to get started on this journey or path. Let's start run it down, shall we? What does the job entail? Documentation, documentation, and more documentation. It's definitely part of the job. Reading, authoring, monitoring, modifying documentations. It's all documentation. And you have to love it. Otherwise, this won't work. You also would have to be an assessor, responsible for assessing products, processes, business postures, etc. How things are supposed to work versus how things are working today. Having a specialized background like I have in technical field, it definitely helps a lot in understanding and communicating things better. You would also be a teacher. One of the job is actually educating people about regulations, standards, guidelines, rules, anything and everything pretty much. You have to be patient, and of course you have to enjoy, or you would have to enjoy interactions a teensy bit. You would be a counselor for your own company. People would come to you for advice and guidelines on different subjects, and you would need to help them out to the best of your ability, to the best of your knowledge. You would need to constantly monitor company wide processes and company wide efforts to ensure that rules are being followed and provide guidance accordingly. And in some cases, like myself, you would also be responsible for defending your posture, meaning defending your overall company frameworks and postures during audit works. One additional element that I would love to add, which I believe is also very important or would come in handy, is a good handler of project. If you already are doing something, and that could be your advantage, and that could definitely give you an edge if you're a good project manager. How to get started with additional skills. Extremely essential to do the job. Number one, critical thinking, or thinking outside of the box. Even though it's assumed that being a regulator means often just following the rules and repeating the lines, more often than not, you would see and you would find yourself trying to think beyond the norms and figure out the best possible outcome to satisfy those governing bodies' requirement as well as your own organizational requirements. Number two, I don't need to elaborate too much onto this because it's very self explanatory. Observation and attention to details. This would be a must while doing your job as a regulator, you would need to observe everything. And I mean it, everything. This skill, if you already have, it's going to be very, very handy. Writing skill is definitely something which is essential, as I kept on repeating documentation, documentation, documentation. So you would need that. You would have to also be a continuous learner. You need to enjoy learning and learning some more because that would be very, very essential, which would come if you already have it, it's going to be very handy and you would be a great regulator if you're constantly learning and evolving. Your professional network, those guys, that peer network would be everything. You would need to build it, nurture it, lean onto it time and time again. They would be the biggest help in your toughest times. And I see the most important one that's very close to my heart as well for the last. I think this is one of the one that we tend to forget more often than not. Keeping things simple. That's just it. Being a regulator means working with heavy regulatory jargons every day, all day, which turns us into people who can only speak that language or who communicate with that language. When in reality, we should be actually doing the exact opposite. As covered earlier, the job is to educate and counsel and guide people who need it, people who do not speak these jargons. Keeping it simple for them, keeping it understandable, keeping it relatable would not only help you to get their buy in, but also successfully get the job done so much smoother, so much. But easier said than done. So I constantly struggle with this every day, all day. And I bet many other regulators would also connect with me on this. So if it's something that's a work in progress for you, it's still pretty great. You're doing a great job. In the end, I left two key things as a reminder. Number one, remember, this is not a job. This is a responsibility. Since you would be a teacher, a counsel, a guide, an advisor, all of that mixed into one job, one element. You would need to constantly learn and you would need to guide people to the best of your ability. And as Uncle Ben said, with great powers come great responsibility. Number two, as I always say, keep it simple. That's what's going to help you make this job better for you. It's going to make it so much simpler for you. Going to get you those executive binds, those leader binds, going to help you with proper implementations through audits, pretty much everything. Keep the wording simple and jargon free, communicate freely, and try to create that bond with those stakeholders. They're going to get you through this. In the end, I would say I hope I was able to deliver the message what I came here today with. Being a regulator is a lot of responsibility dialed into one, but the job has its fun. It comes with some great perks, and it is so much important now than ever due to this ever changing technological and threat landscape to have more and more regulators. I'll end my conversation here leaving my contact details with you guys in case if you are looking into the field or just want to have a discussion or this discussion alone motivated you enough to actually get into the field. Feel free to get in touch with me for longer conversations, for any questions, queries about my own experience into the field. I'd be more than happy to talk and assist you with anything. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much for joining this session and wishing you a great rest of your day and sessions ahead. Cheers.